We got a couple wide receivers we want to talk about here. Some wide receiver flex options. Let's talk about these guys. Are you going to start them in your flex or sit them over other names that are there? And the first one, it should be a start based on the matchup and just based on the name value. But so far, we have not seen the production. T.Y. Hilton against the New York Jets. Are you starting him in the flex?
Yeah, I'm starting T.Y. Hilton. I'm biased here, Stef, because I'm a big-time T.Y. Hilton fan. Jets are a cake matchup. I guess the only concern here would be that the Colts are going to get out to a lead and not need to throw the ball to T.Y. Hilton at all. The game against Minnesota, they controlled early, and T.Y. Hilton only had 5 targets in that game. So, they didn't have to throw the ball a ton. In week 1 against Jacksonville, Hilton still saw 9 targets. Last week against Minnesota in that low-volume game, he dropped the long touchdown, very uncharacteristic of him. He comes up with that catch. T.Y. Hilton's locked into your lineup. So start T.Y. Hilton this week. He even got called out by his grandma.
I was going to bring that up.
If anyone's going to be playing hard, it's going to be Hilton. I'm fine to throw him in there. Hope he gets a big one this week.
Here's the report. T.Y. Hilton's grandmother gave him a call on Monday. She said she didn't recognize the grandson she was watching on TV the first 2 weeks of the season. And Hilton said it was just what he needed. She always shoots it straight with me. Hilton said, she's my rock, she's my heart. So
he's going for 35 points.
So for Mrs. Hilton, the inspiration is there and an easy matchup. I'm plugging Hilton in. I like the boom upside that he has with now with Paris Campbell out as well. Another one we need to talk about here, Tyler Boyd. He's been a little bit disappointing. At least he was in week 1, and then the touchdown saved you. The garbage time touchdown at the very end of the game in week 2. I was happy with plugging Tyler Boyd in there, but I was sweating the entire game. Tyler Boyd against the Philadelphia Eagles. Are you starting him? Are you sitting him?
I am. Yeah, I'm starting Tyler Boyd week 1. Weird, low-volume matchup against the Chargers. Week 2, a much higher-flying matchup against Cleveland. And even though it wasn't garbage time, or most of it was, Steph, we saw what this Bengals team is going to be. They're going to give up a ton of points. Joe Burrow's going to throw the ball a lot. And Tyler Boyd was able to get some rapport with Joey Burrows there at the end. So I'm starting Tyler Boyd in my flex, feeling pretty good about it.
Burrow showed an affinity for targeting the slot receiver back at LSU. That's where Tyler Boyd operates most of the time. He's at an 85% snap share out in all packages. So regardless if it's a run, pass, red zone, opposite side of the field, whatever it is, Tyler Boyd is in the game. So for a guy like that who saw 8 targets and had a touchdown last week, I think you just got to plug him in again, hope for the same thing. Last one that we'll talk about, actually 2 more, Marvin Jones. I know you're actually dealing with this same situation, one of our leagues, Alex. Marvin Jones against the Arizona Cardinals. Are you putting him in your flex?
Yeah, I'd flex him over both Hilton and Boyd, both guys we already talked about. I think this is going to be a bounce-back week for Matt Stafford, a little foreshadowing for the starts of the week later in the show. Kenny Golladay is going to be back. That doesn't scare me one bit. I think Marvin Jones, we've seen it for years with both of these two guys as the 1A, 1B in Detroit. Marvin Jones plays just as well when Kenny G is out there. He actually levels off a little bit when he is the quote-unquote featured wide receiver 1. So if Golladay can get out there this week in any capacity, I think it's actually just going to be a lift for the entire Lions offense. And Marvin Jones should have a good week in a high-flying game here against Arizona. I think the over-under for this game, let me spot check it here. It's 55.5 points. So Vegas is expecting a ton of points. Marvin Jones has just as good a chance to get into the end zone as anybody, so I'm throwing him out there.
Nice. Yeah, not much to add there. I think you're plugging him in. He's an upside flex guy with a relatively high floor. Worst case scenario, we're talking 8-9 points. Last one here.
Yep.
Guy who's actually a little bit banged up, but if he's healthy and ready to go and in there, John Brown against the Rams. It's the hardest matchup that the Bills have had to face with previous matchups against Miami and the Jets. Are you starting him in the toughest matchup so far? Josh Allen has been cooking. Are you willing to plug John Brown in and just keep riding this hype train with Allen and the boys?
Yeah, matchup of 2-0 teams here. Allen and the boys, I think, are going to be competitive with LA, and the Rams are the best offense that Buffalo has played so far. So, if the Rams can put up some points, Josh Allen's going to need to throw the ball. I expect that to be the case, even if it's not, 4 touchdowns for Josh Allen like we saw last week. I think there's going to be enough passing volume for John Brown to be a flex play this year. He's outperformed, where I think he'll finish full season here in those first couple games. But John Brown, to me, coming into the year, I was really low on because I wasn't sold on the pass volume for Josh Allen with Diggs coming in. But he's funneling those targets to Diggs and John Brown. There's not a whole lot else there. Maybe Cole Beasley underneath. So, look, I like Brown this week. He's banged up, so keep an eye on it. He was last week as well, and he was fine. He's been bailed out by a touchdown in the first 2 games, but his volume has still been consistent. So I think John Brown's going to be just fine this week. I'd probably prefer the other guys we already talked about. I'd prefer Hilton, Boyd, and Marvin Jones to John Brown. But there's a lot worse you could do at the position, and I'm starting John Brown if I have to. I don't have a problem with it.
Wide receiver 9 on the year right now in PPR.
It's crazy.
At over 90% snap share.
I never would have guessed that.
Same. We had him in our wide receiver 3 range before the drafts, and his snap shares have been high, over 90% in both weeks. So he's a part of the game plan for the Bills, part of their passing attack. And Diggs being there kind of opened things up in this passing game. So I'm willing to put John Brown in there at flex again, even in the tougher matchup.